Welcome to Mimi's Math channel. In this video, I am going to explain how to find the least common denominator for rational expressions. So for the first one, what you want to look for is your denominators. On the first fraction, I have 3x minus 1, but on the second fraction, I have 2x plus 1. What I personally would do is whatever's missing on one fraction, I'm going to go ahead and take it from the other one and include it. Whatever I do to the denominator, I also have to do to the numerator. So now what I notice is on the first fraction, I am missing the quantity of 2x plus 5. Since there's already a 6x there, what's going to happen is I'm going to distribute. For the second fraction, I would multiply the quantity of x minus 2 times the quantity of 3x minus 1. So what do they both have in common? They both have the quantity of 2x plus 5 times the quantity of 3x minus 1. For your second example, this time there's multiple ways that you can do this, but what I try to do is just focus on the numbers first. And what I try to do is look for a number that they all have in common. So I know 16, 24, and 36 have 4 in common. Yes, I could have used 2 and 8, and I could have used 6 and 6, but again, I want to try to start off with what I know that they have in common, or at least 2 out of the 3. So whatever they have in common, I'm going to go ahead and take note of that. I want to go down to the prime numbers, and then I have 2 times 3, and I don't have a 2, but I do have a 3. So what's missing for 36 is a 2. So whatever I just included, I'm going to keep track of that and go ahead and get rid of that. I also noticed that I have some 3s for 24 and 36, so I need a 3. I have a 3 for the 9, but for the 6 and the 4, I don't, so I'm going to go ahead and include that. So now the only thing that's left is the 4 has a 2, and the 6 and the 9 do not, so I want to include that. Now the numbers that I was keeping track of, I'm going to go ahead and multiply those out. Then I want to go and I want to look at my variables. The easiest way to remember this is just to look at the variable with the highest exponent, and that's going to be your answer. If you were actually just looking at it from a standpoint of what is with what fraction, I notice that I have 2 A's here. I have 1 A and 2 A's. So that second fraction needs an A. So now they have 2 A's apiece. So I can just go ahead and write that as A squared. And then I notice that the second fraction has a B and the third fraction has a B, but the first one doesn't. So I have to include a B there. And whatever I just included, that is going to go in my final answer for my least common denominator. Example 3, I personally would rewrite my denominator in standard form. However, I also would factor out that negative sign. And this is a difference of 2 squares. What I notice is missing from the second and the third fraction are the negative sign. And then from the first and the second, what's missing is the quantity of x plus 3. Whatever I just color coded and put in pink, you have to do the same thing to the numerator. So this already had a minus sign, so you have to make sure that you went ahead and changed that to begin with. That's going to turn into a positive once you finish a negative times a negative. And then on the other side, I had a negative. However, there's an expression there, so I have to make sure that I recognize that it has to distribute. So if you're just looking for the least common denominator, you're going to write negative times the quantity of x minus 3 times quantity of x plus 3 if it's in factored form. Otherwise, you can just write x squared minus 9, because most people take this negative sign and they just put it in front of the fraction's answer. It's up to how your teacher wants it. I want it factored out. And then the last example, I see that I have an expression. This does not mean that all I can do is just say x minus 7. That is not correct. So when I'm trying to find my least common denominator, I recommend that you use parentheses. I cannot separate it. However, on the other side, I have an x, but I don't have the quantity of x minus 7, so I have to include that. And on the other side, I am missing the x. What I did to the denominator, I have to now do to the numerator. So I would have multiplied the 15 times x, and then I also would distribute this 12 times the x as well as times the negative 7 if I were working through the problem. But I am just trying to find the least common denominator, which is going to be x times the quantity of x minus 7, because I want it in factored form. But if someone else wants it expanded, it will be x squared minus 7x. So that concludes the video. Please remember remember to like and subscribe. Have an amazing day.